why this is why you're here today. Strengthening preparedness. This is another area where we've all said this has been improving. Okay, next slide. Okay, so traditionally we have like a conceptual framework for how we do disaster management. Traditionally we look at this cycle and we look at the events, the flood, the landslide. There's an emergency, there's a response. The main thing here is to save lives. That's our main focus, and it should be. This is the civil protection, the police, the army. We need them. Restoration, people start coming back, start recovering, reconstruction, mitigation, start thinking about the next time, start preparing ourselves, preparation, okay? But we come back to the event. The way I don't like this is that we come back to the same event. We don't want that. Can you go to the next slide? So I have a problem with that traditional cycle. Okay, again, here are all the different phases that I just discussed, okay? We're suggesting an alternative conceptual mind framework, and that's a spiral where we want to move away from the impact. We want it to be less next time. We want to learn from our mistakes. So here what we're suggesting is that we have the same cycle, but then through better analysis of what happened, through more sustainable development. It's really a development issue, those people living in the river. Better prevention, and what we're suggesting in this course is ecosystem-based solutions at all phases. Pete, your question, we're finally answering your question now. At all phases of the disaster management spiral, we suggest that there are ecosystem-based solutions. Maybe not in the first 2 days when we need to save people from underneath the rubble, but in terms of the reconstruction, there are greener solutions, and especially in the prevention side, through better ecosystem management, we can actually, in some cases, not always, reduce the actual impact of the hazard, and also have livelihood support, so reducing the vulnerability, and also reduce exposure by better land use planning. Okay?
May I say something to this?
Yes.
In response to what Radhika said about biodiversity. In 2000, we organized a conference, an international conference in the Netherlands, which was called Nature in War. Sorry about the title. And the conclusion of the conference, especially by the participants from the, let's say, the so-called developed world, was that even during the emergency phase, you have to pay very explicit attention to saving the biodiversity. Because later on, you realize that you have missed things that you could have saved at that moment that are important for recovery.
Yeah. No. Pete, you're absolutely right. I'm not saying that we should cut down all the forests while we're saving lives. But there can be some in the planning that needs to be planned in advance, right? There are guidelines about, in an emergency, let's not dump waste into a wetlands. There's certain things that we should follow that can be prepared so that when they're in an emergency and we're focusing on saving lives, we don't do more damage so that we create more problems in the future. You're absolutely right, yeah.
And if I can add, we also need to sensitize the relief agencies. You tell International Red Cross, we also need to assess what happens with biodiversity. They're like, how heartless are you? You know, we're trying to save lives here. Often, humanitarian aids, they push it back, saying, no, it's not a priority right now.
But that was exactly the reason why we organized that conference. So we invited the Red Cross, and there was the Green Cross and all these type of organizations. And the Red Cross at that time was very sensitive to the recommendation from this conference. And not because it was me saying so, but it was the people from affected countries saying so. In this case, especially from the east part of Congo, where you had all these big, you still unfortunately have all those big conflicts going on.
Okay.
They were sensitive to that at that time, and they have a policy on it now, officially. If they apply it, I don't know.
Okay, good. I think we're at the end. That was the last slide, right? I'm not going to talk about that now. It's enough. Yeah. Okay. Maybe just the conclusions then. Yeah. So what we're saying again, the main drivers of risk, ecosystem claim is one major one that's being recognized by the international policy documents, okay? By the World Bank, by UNISDR, IPCC, they're all recognizing that ecosystem is a major driver of risk. Urban and poorly planned development, right? Poverty. So climate change, we're saying, is going to it's not yet a significant hazard, but it will be an aggravating one on top of all of these things that you have mentioned. Okay? So we're going to stop there. We're only 5 minutes over time. That's not bad. And I wanted to please have the new participants welcome you. And if you could perhaps just introduce yourselves. We had a fun exercise this morning where we had 1 minute to introduce yourselves and say something unusual about yourselves. But if maybe you could just stand up and just briefly say what your name is and what organization you're from, please. Yeah? Start with the ladies first. Speak up a little bit. These were the questions we asked. If you could just say your name. So you have 1 minute to do that, okay?
Okay. My name is Mariam. I'm working as a political monitoring center in Dhaka.
Okay.
I am a photograph and in world science.
Yes.
And particularly interested in disaster risk reduction.
Okay.
Because I'm from a Sahelian country and we face a lot of risk, air, drought, and renewable energies.
Okay. There's something unusual about you? Like this morning we had somebody who's afraid of water, somebody doesn't like cockroaches, somebody likes to climb. What is something unusual about you? So, and something that you like to do. We have somebody who likes to travel or... Okay. Yeah? Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Sirs, please.
My name is Jackson Lack from ICN, Mako. I'm in charge of management and operational development. Yeah.
Why you were here?
I'm here because I'm also engaged in some kind of developing planning and having tools for ecosystem-based adaptation initiative.
Yes.
So it's good for me to look at the industrial risk management
Okay.
process to see how it can be improved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Anything unusual about you? We would never guess about you.
I've been prepared for the world is very changing and a lot of things that happen as you are never think about. So I used to get my mind to do for making that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. We have a short coffee break, so if you could please be back. We have Radhika with a really exciting talk now about ecosystems. Where does ecosystems fit into all of this? So let's see. I took my watch off. It is. You could come back at 5 minutes to the hour, please, sharp, so that we can get started. And please have a nice
The
coffee.
coffee is outside.
It should be right outside here. Yeah? And again, if you have any questions, you didn't have time, put them up.
Sure.
Yeah? We have this board. If you have any questions.
She has just functioned in French, So, you will be around
I'll be around, sure.
Okay,
And I always wear my hat, you know, fine.
that's right. Okay, then let's see you later. I have to go rush to another meeting at 11.
I love you.
I like it.
Yes, well, I will be there.
So just the morning is a bit heavy.
No, I like it very much. I like this stuff.
No, but that thing is good.
Yeah, that you think it's
Put things together in a way that this fits in and that fits in. Everything you say, you can find in examples to illustrate it. That makes it nice.
Great.
Good. Yeah. There always no receipts myself.
되게 활동적이신가 봐요.
네.
자꾸 마이크 뽑아고 왔다 갔다 하는데도
왼쪽에
네, 저쪽
이쪽 테이블 하나 하고
뒤쪽에도 필요한 것 같고요.
뭐 어떻게 두 개면
뒤쪽에 이쪽 테이블에 하고 있죠.
이쪽 두 개 하고 이쪽 두 개. 그래가지고
여기다 올려주시면 돼요.
Get through the group, screen, follow yes, because there is some usually road UBI project in Caucasus in the last year.
So maybe
Sectional, yes. But there will be our buses here till 2 o'clock.
every 15 minutes.
From 1 to 2 o'clock.
And then,
Then go, then we leave.
so
Problem.
maybe you could just leave out.
Yes, I will need to go to lunch. And afterwards, I will try also to come back into the session.
This is really important, huh?
Yes,
This
yes,
is where
yes, for me
they
it's
will
also
show you
very
how
good.
to do it.
Yeah, okay.
This is not theory. They're going to show you the matrices, how to map your material. I
I
don't
will
know if
try
you'll
my
make
best.
it, but
I will go for lunch and you ask them, maybe I will not participate. I will ask them to
yeah,
someone.
this would be very useful. And Jonathan is amazing. This guy who's coming from Thailand to do this, he's not ACN, he's an NGO from Thailand. And I'll show some of the stuff that we do.
Okay. My question also was about the trainings that part of which you are conducting in different countries. Part of them are conducted by international staff and part of local, or mostly all of them are local, from the local ones.
It's very similar to what we did in Georgia.
Yes, I know, but I was not so much involved in that.
So what we do is we bring in this material and we give it to the local experts. We get them identified, the water guide, the forest guide.
But
The
the
marine
whole
guide.
locals are prepared. Yes, because
No, we have the material.
I know,
They
but-
just put in the case study. And they use our slides,
Yes.
but they change it to the local context because they know what the real issues for water is, what the real issues.
I can understand this, but
But it's our material.
Yes, we have conducted one of the sessions for your trainings.
Yeah, so it's our material, but we find somewhere in the middle, their knowledge and our material, and then we deliver it.
What we did, we have conducted one of your trainings, this training session.
Yeah.
One of our employees was there. We did the training session, but problem was that also we have received the materials, but not so much also like instructions and everything.
Yeah.
This was not like, it was a bit difficult also for us to how get this training. It will be better if someone can facilitate this process also and can help us
Modify the material.
modify the materials, identify what to put there, you know.
I think
it
the
needs much
issue
more
was
time.
we had Olga, who's not very experienced.
No,
So normally we work with somebody senior in the country who knows how to develop material, who knows who the experts are, what guidance to give to the experts. We have a whole lot of guidance for the experts. So I think Olga was a bit inexperienced, and it was a bit challenging for us to work with Cambodia. But normally, like Sri Lanka, we also get in our ICM office, like Anya, who can help bridge the material we have and the knowledge that the experts have. But I take your point, like we probably need to bring more attention to the process.
yes, because
In helping the
you were
local
mentioning
experts.
that 4 months is for the preparation. We heard about this training only 1 week before.
Yeah,
we
see,
conducted the
and
session.
that's something we can't control because it's your Ministry for Environment or the local focal point we identify. We try not to bypass the local focal point. And Olga, in this case, I know she didn't really involve the one.
Maybe more follow-up is what you're
No. We're talking about how that they didn't get enough guidance to use our material and localize it as a local expert. They didn't get enough guidance in that process.
More than how they can implement it.
No. For the purpose of the training course, to be able to conduct it by utilizing the local experts' knowledge, we need to give better guidance to the experts from the journal team to conduct the training itself.
More time for the preparation also. You were engaged like 2 weeks before. 2 weeks is not enough to prepare yourself for day studies and everything. But I understood that you have 4 months time for the preparation process. And about the local experts also is very important to know. In Georgia, for example, and in other Soviet countries, Union countries like that, they are always like thinking, even with our like maps and atlases and everything, they don't like this new technology, GIS, anything, and what they go are always asking and pushing that can't be done using of satellite images. You have to go there always and you have to take some measures, and they are always pushing on their methodologies. That's why we want to change something. We need always like international experts also show how it works. Yes, it's very important because change of mentality of these people who are scientists and they always want to be on the
change of
first.
mentality is
Yes.
the biggest barrier.
It's a quite a difficult issue.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get a tea before because then we do the whole phase, yeah. We should almost have a link.
Well, you know what, I was thinking we could just do this. Oh, yeah, sure. Just do it. We did the CAD for it, but we had to make it and come on this guy for this training. Yeah, honestly. Should I be between that one, just after yours?
No, I'm
No?
thinking just it'll take like half an hour. But
Okay. Well, I was wondering if we should do it in between the two lectures. Yeah, okay.
Do you
Why
want to
don't you
do it?
No.
Did I sit on chocolate?
We've got round house. I can't see.
I got great pens.
No, I can't see anything.
No?
Wait, wait, no.
Oh my god, that's weird. My pen.